just of them ask what?
It's been a good fall camp. Excited about it. Kids have really gotten after it. Time to take a road trip. So, questions?
How excited are you guys for that challenge? Because, I mean, no one's going to believe you guys have a chance out there. How excited are you guys to go take that challenge on?
Well, to be honest with you, it hadn't been any different than the last couple of years. We got Ohio State one year and Michigan State the year after that. What I will say is that a lot of those guys have been in those venues and been in that atmosphere. If you look at the back end of our secondary, you know, from Clint Stevens being back now, you know, fifth-year senior, and you know, Gregory over there, he's a fifth-year senior, and you know, Marcus Milton looks like he's been here since he's 22 years now. You know, Jerry McBride's a kid that had to go and play against Ohio State as a true freshman. Jamari Bozeman is back. We threw him out there as a redshirt freshman. So those guys have been there. They've done that, and I think they're excited about the challenges. They know what's ahead of us.
How much does it help to have played in an environment like this?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. I mean, you know, when not just for the kids, for coaching staff as well. You know, we know what we're up against, and this is where, you know, we've got to show progress. You know, we've got to go out there, and I thought that we did a decent job of that last year and going out and playing a fairly competitive half versus Michigan State that ended up being a top 20 football team. You know, we got to go out and we got to play not only a competitive game against Oregon, but we got to make sure that somehow we're in it in that fourth quarter and give ourselves an opportunity to win.
Do you take anything from those previous games, Michigan State, Ohio State? I mean, can you take anything from those experiences?
Not really, other than the arena. And you know, Oregon, you know, it's a different animal of its own. You know, the trip in itself, it will be new, you know, to our kids. You know, it's 5 hours, you know, out there and 5 hours back. What I will say is this: I'm not too worried about how it'll affect us as far as our game prep or even our approach in Saturday afternoon's game. The concern that one might have is when you get back and you lose those 3 hours, and you know, you got to get back here, and we got a big one the next weekend versus Maryland as well. So we've got a plan in place. You know, our kids have Mondays off, so we feel like it shouldn't affect them too well. I just told Miss Shelley to be sure we stocked up with plenty of coffee to make sure the coaches get through those couple of days.
Their quarterback might end up being the first guy drafted next year.
Justin's pretty good.
Yeah, and on top of that, they were one of the best running teams in the country last year. So how do you go about disrupting an offense that has as many weapons?
Well, we've got to be productive on offensive. That's the first thing that we've got to do. We got to keep them off the field, and we've got to capitalize on our opportunities. If you go back and talk about learning from the last couple of years, even at Michigan State early on, we had some chances. We moved the ball a little bit from 20 to 20. We got in the red zone, and we didn't capitalize. We can't do that. We can't put our defense in that type of situation. It'll be a long night. So that's the first thing that we've got to do. And then, you know, we've got to understand, you know, Coach Bellini's scheme and his philosophy is kind of a bend but don't break defense. You know, you know, we're going to give up our share of yards, but once that field shrinks and we get down into that score zone, you know, I'll say they're multiple to say the least, and to be able to get some stops and get some timely turnovers. But he's definitely a very talented, very elite quarterback. Just in his physical stature alone, kid's 6'6", 233 pounds, and he can run it. You know, and the greatest mark of a great player, if you look at him last year when he was there, I think they averaged 52 points a game, and without him was down to 15, 16. So he is definitely a difference maker. We've got a hands full.
Go ahead, man.
They obviously have a new staff, but some of the same personnel. So how did you kind of balance that between?
For us, from an offensive standpoint, it's a little bit easier because Levitt's still there. He was defensive coordinator last year, and Coach Cristobal actually I think was offensive line coach. You know, and really I think Coach Bellini and he, I think FAU, FIU, I think they've kind of had some battles together. So I think they'll probably have an idea of what to expect out of us, and I think we may have got a good idea of how they want to attack us as well.
Are you happy with where the defense is right now coming out of camp?
It's a work in progress. I mean, I'm happy with the effort. I'm happy with the attention to detail. but by no means are we where we need to be or where we're going to be. You know, and that's something, even coming into last night's practice, our Sunday night practice, you know, defensively, we're still installing. And that's just part of this process. It's important that I understand that as a head coach, and I make sure that our team gets that as well. Because what we don't want to do is we want to make sure that we're giving them the best opportunity to be successful. So if that's going in with a limited package versus Oregon, so be it. The focus is getting to Detroit and winning the MAC championship. And as we go through the schedule, our non-conference schedule, we won't lose sight of that.
When you look at this schedule, it can be daunting, I'm sure. How will you measure success, especially early on in the season?
Well, taking care and handling the things that we're able to control. I mean, if we go out there and we play a clean football game, which every day we've been watching our be clean cut-ups, and really, I really felt like from an efficiency standpoint, if we would have eliminated turnovers and costly, untimely penalties last year, you know, who knows? We could have got bowl eligible, because you look at Akron, Ohio, Buffalo, and Eastern Michigan just pop into my head to where, heck, we had the lead in the fourth quarter in some of those games, and that immaturity, that lack of mental toughness, that lack of physical toughness was the difference in those fourth quarters. And that's kind of been, you know, this spring, this summer with Coach Dennis and our strength and conditioning staff, and in all the meetings that we had, is improving, you know, on those levels.
In years past, you had players that you almost had to protect to preserve their red shirt.
Right.
Now you can get those kids in up to 4 games. How, if at all, will the rule change impact what you can do in the non-conference portion of your schedule?
Well, we're going to play as many that are ready to play, and I think you'll see that from everybody in the country. You know, fortunately or unfortunately, it really didn't matter, redshirt or no redshirt. Most of our freshmen have played, and again, we're not where we're going to be. We're probably about a year away from this roster being where I want it or where it needs to be. So, in saying that, this 17 class or 18 class, whatever it was, these kids that just come in, the Ravion Hargraves, the Rico Fries, those guys are going to play. You know what I mean? Carl Brooks, those guys are going to play. And that's kind of where we are. And they're talented. They're talented. The good thing about that is, as I say those names, in the last couple of years, those guys didn't just have to come out and play. They had to start. And they had to be big contributors. Now we can ease those guys in and, you know, take those 2 running backs. If we can get 10, 12 touches a game between them, they're both dynamic, but that's something that they can handle. And so asking Andrew Clare, who had 185 pounds, to come and carry the ball 16 to 20 times before he was ready for it. So we've increased our talent immensely, but right now we're at a point to where you're still going to see a lot of fresh faces.
You mentioned getting to Detroit, Coach. What is it that gives you optimism about this team, big picture, versus, say, last year's team? What do you think makes this team better?
Well, a year older in a lot of the key positions. Let's just take the, you know, the gut of it from an offensive standpoint. You know, Caleb Bright is a redshirt sophomore who had to play all year at center last year at about 285 pounds. You know, the kid's 305 right now. You look at the quarterback, Jared Dagey played about 176. He's about 205 right now. We talked about Andrew Clare a little bit earlier. You know, he was 185, 184 pounds as a 17-year-old kid. He's been here for a year and a half now. He's at 203 pounds. Quentin Morris, outside, another sophomore. You know, those guys have been through the ringer, and they took to the licks, and they stayed competitive. You know, the season by no means was what we wanted it to be, but we had our chances, and we let them get away. And that's part of that growth. And I really think being in those moments and at those times will allow us an opportunity to seize the moment at the end of the games this year.
Do you expect Jamari Bozeman to be available?
I do. Right now, Jamari is way ahead of you know, where I thought he might be at this point. You know, right now he's starting. He'll be slotted to start. And again, he's probably one of our most instinctive players. It was a pretty significant injury that Jamari had to recover from. I think he needs to be in there eating more peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Need to put some of that weight back on. But Jamari is a very instinctive football player and probably one of our smartest football players, truth be told.
Game week finally here. There's a lot of anticipation. What time did you wake up this morning?
Oh man, I haven't slept. I haven't slept. Excited about it. You know, Yeah, 2-10 is a long year to go through, and these kids have had a very rough off season, and I'm excited about the way that they've bonded together, and I'm excited about their potential. But we all know potential. Potential gets you nowhere. You got to be willing to put in the work on a daily basis, and they've shown that they're up to that task. So excited about the season.